What's going on, guys? Nick Dark here. This will be a full chart breakdown video on Euro USD. So let's get right into it. First thing we want to do is a top-down analysis. So what this means is we're going to start on the highest time frame, the monthly time frame here, and work our way down time frames all the way down to the 4 hour and 1 hour. If we see potential entries, and we'll start scoping it out and seeing what potential scenarios lie there at current price action. So first thing we need to do, again, top-down analysis. We're on the monthly time frame here. I'm going to go ahead and start marking some significant support and resistance levels. Okay, so I'm on the line chart. I'm simply looking for areas where price action has reacted many times. And you don't have to rush this process. I actually like to take my time with this process the most. I'd like to take the most time because I really want to make sure I get these levels right. I want to make sure that, because if you start your analysis wrong, the rest will follow, and the whole thing will just be wrong. So take your time with this. It's really no rush. Analyze at your own pace, and then you'll have the best results that way by far. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this level 1.25. I like this level right here. Mark this as a monthly. Let's see if this makes sense. Double check your work. Go to the candlestick chart. So yeah, this was pretty significant support here multiple times. Resistance over here. Yeah, this is a pretty good zone. And again, these are zones. You're not expecting price action to stop on the exact pip, rather than react in this area, or this zone. Okay, so let's go back to the line chart. Right side overlap there, overlap there. Actually, this could this be a little bit lower? Let's see. Let's try 1.24. See if this is a little better. I like how they both overlap here. So yeah, this is a little bit better because it hits here again and it's a little bit lower, closer to the closure of the actual candle, the body closure. Okay, so then on the line chart, it's represented as an overlap. So I like that better. 1.24 is a better zone for us. Okay, so next we want to find another level. I like this one down here, but let's check, see how wide the spread is. A little too wide for me. I think this area up here might do it. Let's see. 1.4. Let's take a look. All right, let's check the range on this. About 1,500 pips. A little wide for my liking. Interesting. Okay, so don't like that level as much, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete this one, and I like this one down here a little bit better. This one right around 1.07 it looks like. And you only really need to find two significant zones to start, because then you're just measuring the range between them. All right, so this one looks pretty good. We'll see how this plays out. Touch on both sides here. Again over here. Rejected multiple times. So this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get a price range tool and continue marking these levels. See if they continue to make sense. Okay, so this is one here. We're going to do one lower and then one higher. Okay. Right about here. 0.9. Monthly, and then one to the upside, right about here. 1.41 monthly. All right, double check real quick before we head on to the weekly levels. All right, cool. Looks pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and split these levels now. Guys, also just another rule. If you do an analysis and you start getting through it and you realize things just aren't making sense or there's a lot of confusion, either restart entirely, it's completely fine to restart, or just move on to a new pair. Because some are a little harder to analyze than others, depending on how price action is forming. So no shame in that at all, guys. If you have to restart or abandon and move on to a new pair, no shame at all. Sometimes, it just happens. Sometimes you just can't analyze a pair. Sometimes you get confused, or you just need to refresh your eyes and come back to it at another point. All right. So this is going to be 1.41. 0.15 as the weekly. So what I'm doing here is just splitting these levels, and then we're going to check them. Okay. 9.85. Oop. Weekly. Cool. All right, let's double check. Back to the candlestick chart. Does this monthly make sense? Does this weekly make sense? Monthly. So on and so on. Okay, cool. So this all looks pretty good, but there's one thing I want to do before we move on, and that's highlight this zone. This is a very significant zone. And I'm highlighting it because it's the most significant zone, compared to where current price action is. And this is because we saw this monthly act as support. It tested 3 times, held very significantly. It actually presented this kind of large descending triangle pattern, as you can see here, right? Tons of lower highs, clear support, finally broke support, and now it's retesting, and then it confirmed this zone as resistance in the form of a lower high, and then has been pushing lower since then. So that's why this zone is very, very significant and is definitely worth highlighting. So now we can move on to the weekly. And what we're going to do on this time frame is essentially look for any patterns, highlight any ranges or trends that we should be made aware of. Okay. So we're just looking at this section of price action, and this is that retest. This was the break of support, test as resistance, and then it rejected. So you could see here that this is kind of like a head and shoulders pattern right here. Left shoulder, that's the head, this is the right shoulder, neckline's pretty much where the weekly is, and then it broke and retested and continued down. So now, this is another significant zone right here, basically. Pretty much this entire neckline, this weekly zone. Pretty much all the way to here, because if price action remained below this zone, it would have been very bearish on this weekly time frame, and it would have remained bearish. But we actually see that we had a huge transition here where we broke to the upside. Give me 1 second, let me just draw this in. 7.5, 7.5, and we had a little break and retest right here. This was that transition, so it pushed higher. Significant break above this. This was more or less, this was a fake out right here. And this was also Corona news in March. So this did not have much weight. The real closure was right here. This was real structure where we had this, resistance level established. And then it finally broke, retested, higher low, and then pushed higher. So now we have what looks like to be a daily transition. So now we can drop down and kind of see where price action's headed now. I'm actually going to draw this zone over because this is still relevant all the way over here. And I'm actually going to draw this zone down here too because this was a bit of a range and I want this to be highlighted just because. Right in here. This whole area was a huge range. And now that I've drawn the zones in, you can clearly see that, right? It bounced, rejected, bounced, rejected, bounced, so on and so on, until it finally broke out again. All right? So now we can go down to the daily, see what price action's doing here. So like we said, we saw this was pretty much a transition. All we can do here is we can see that it's clearly overextended. So what we're going to do is kind of just draw some trend lines in, throw some fibs on here as well, and see what our potential trade scenarios could be. All right, so this was definitely super, super bullish. Let's go ahead and fib this, just kind of measure everything. This was the conviction right here to here. It hit structure and then continued higher. Hit 38.2 and also pretty close to the 50%, which was in line with the structure. So this was a nice pocket for a potential entry right in here. Let's make this yellow, right? And then we could have entered on, some breakouts, some bullish engulfings, some bullish variations, bullish setups in general. This also looks like it could be a bit of a flag. Yep, looks like it's a bit of a flag pattern, which is perfect. Pushed up, pulled back, gave us the pattern, formed structure, and then pushed higher, broke out of the pattern. Nice little entry in here on, again, some sort of bullish variation. So that's nice to see. Okay, so it did form structure right here and then continued higher. So what we have to do is refib because we pushed to a new high. So let's go ahead and refib from the low to the high. Now this thing could still be going. It looks like it has a ton of momentum. Interesting thing though is, once we do see some consolidation and we do see a transition, which is hinting at a reversal, meaning price action is going to fall back down, we're looking to get in at a golden fib level, so to speak. Our golden fib levels would be 38.2 or 61.8. So if we did see a reversal right now, we'd be looking for any sort of entry. Let's get rid of this trend line. Any sort of entry in this yellow zone here. So it would basically look like this. We'd be looking for any sort of entry there. But here's the thing. We can clearly see this is bullish, right? This was a daily transition, weekly transition. So, we're riding that trend. We're not going, nothing here says, short. Nothing here says sell. There is no bearish pressure as of right now. There won't be, and we won't be looking for any short opportunities until we get back below this weekly. Or until we reach a significant enough resistance level and then start seeing transition to the downside. Until that happens, we're only looking at long opportunities. We're looking to trade the trend here. Seriously, guys. So this thing could also, there's two scenarios here. Is either it pulls back. We know that I'm going to delete the fibs. We know that this yellow zone is a 38.2 and would also be a really nice spot for a pullback. Confirm that higher low right at the weekly. Tons of confluence in there. I'm going to put these MAs back on. And essentially, two scenarios. Is this could just pull back and give us some sort of retracement, or the momentum keeps up, keeps pushing price action a little higher until we see some sort of consolidation, some sort of reversal. So right now it doesn't look like it's gonna pull back, but I just wanted to give you guys that trade idea. If it did reverse at this current moment, and then where we would be looking for long opportunities. So I mean, this thing has just got so much momentum behind it. It's pretty nuts. It could surge all the way up to this monthly and then come back, or we could see a retracement somewhere in here, anywhere in between this range. But for right now, it's definitely looking super, super bullish. So 1.2 is a pretty significant zone. Could see some reaction from price action there. But let's go take a look at the 4 hour as well while we're here. Okay, so yep, super, super bullish. Actually pretty crazy. So this is what we essentially want to see, is something just like this. Let's go ahead and get this bar pattern going. So we saw the rally. Here's this little shoulder pullback, and then it continues higher. Okay, so this is essentially what we want to see right now. So let's say this little piece of price action is what we're seeing form right now. We would like to see some sort of pullback, right? Hit this low, confirm this higher low, form structure, and then continue up. And that's pretty much just exactly this blue trade path. So that would be ideal. Definitely looking nice with that. But again, it could just keep going. Could just keep going for now. And we'll have to wait until we see something like this over here to then get a potential entry on. We want to see this. We want to see this consolidation. We want to see this pullback. Some patterns in here as well. That's what we want to see before we can take a good trade, high probability trade on Euro USD. All right, but also for right now, just a quick fundamental application is the US dollar is just tanking right now. So as that thing is just dropping, it's melting, as it keeps falling, this shows an inverse relationship. So this may just keep going until DXY turns around. But we'll see. We're just gonna stick to the technicals, follow what we know, and just wait for a potential setup. All right, so this is looking it's looking all right so far, but again, we're gonna have to wait, and we'll be there and we'll be ready when this is ready to make a move. All right, guys. So this has been a full chart breakdown on Euro USD. I'll see you guys in the next one.